Before we get started here, let me just tell you a little about me and what I do. I'm with the Air Force Research Laboratory, and my job is to be the program manager for the Defense-Wide Manufacturing Science and Technology Program. That is a portfolio of manufacturing technology programs that AFRL manages on behalf of the Office of the Secretary of Defense. And we look to develop manufacturing technology solutions to help the warfighter, and in addition, to have the defense industrial base be responsive both in a cost and a time manner in getting equipment and warfighting material out to the field. So a lot has been talked already this morning about the problem in general in terms of shops, in terms of monitoring data and trying to get actionable data out. A lot of times you're going to have a manual data entry, and the only guy who really knows something about it is the crusty old guy in the corner, and he may be off on a hunting trip, so what the hell are you going to do? There are a few instances where there are shop monitoring activities taking place, but a lot of times it's proprietary, the stuff's really cranky, and it's hard to use, costly to implement and maintain. And that's just for the U.S. industrial base as a whole. When we, as a Department of Defense, look at our issues, we've got airplanes that are vintage 1950s and 1960s flying. We also have depot manufacturing processes to repair those airplanes that are also vintage 1950s and 60s, mostly because it costs us a lot of money to change those processes out, and really the ROI is not there to update a repair process for something like a B-52 or a KC-135. We can't afford to totally gut our organic facilities and start over, and we can't afford, as we reach out to the supply base, to do that as well. So we need something that's going to be flexible enough to work with our current systems and to get organic facility to organic facility talking, to get an organic facility to talk to its supplier base, and to get the Boeings, Lockheeds, and Northrops to talk to their supplier bases as well. So what's our need? As a department, we need to have access to real-time, actionable information. You can measure anything you want, but unless you can actually be able to make decisions and do something with it that's going to impact your factory floor, it really does you no good, and it's a waste of time. But having that kind of data is going to allow you to have on-time and on-budget delivery and improve your supply chain. In addition, that's just not something that we know through tribal knowledge. We've actually commissioned a report on where the DMS&T program needs to go in terms of investments in advanced manufacturing enterprise. This report was briefed out at the Defense Manufacturing Conference in 2011, but you can see a couple of the themes here that were keyed upon in terms of where DoD needs to make manufacturing technology investment. One, in the area of interoperability, looking at interface protocols and standards, and being in the area of promoting standards. And then in terms of developing tools and methods for intelligent manufacturing, what are those sensor networks for data capture, and how do we get machine-to-machine communications within the DoD supply chain? We have been, as a department, interested in MTConnect for a few years now. We think it's a very powerful tool, but we do recognize right now that it's in its infancy, and there needs to be a spur of activity to grow that critical mass, so not only can the defense industrial base take advantage of it, but the entire United States industrial base. There's a lot of untapped potential on this. If you look at this quote from Modern Machine Shop, there's a lot of data that MTConnect can unlock that's not available today, and through that we can go beyond OEE and get to things like real-time lean tools, real-time ERP, things that can be very valuable for a manufacturing enterprise. So as a result of all that, I'm pleased to announce the launch of the MTConnect Challenge. So rather than do the typical defense R&D contract where we contract with somebody to solve a problem, give them money to do R&D and develop a new MTConnect app, we're going to have a prize-based competition to do this rather than the traditional R&D contract. We wanted to use this challenge to developing manufacturing technology solutions using MTConnect protocol to collect that data from the shop floor. Through this challenge, we really feel that we can engage a broader base of software and system architects than we could do in our conventional methods. And we can develop those tools based on the MTConnect standard. And really, we want to, as a department, be able to help shape the standard and the MTConnect applications while the standard is in its infancy. So the way the challenge is going to work is in two parts. The first part is to create an innovative idea, and that's all it is the idea portion. The second part of it, which will be following the end of the first, will be to take ideas and then develop a software application and demonstrate it on the factory floor. So in terms of challenge one, the ideation portion of it, the target audience for this is really anybody, academia, industry, somebody who has a good idea. We want you to go through and tell us what your idea is, tell us what your approach would be to taking that idea to the solution, not actually doing the approach, but tell us what the approach is. And tell us what the benefits are going to be. Because this is out of the Department of Defense, you need to talk about defense benefits first, but then the benefits to the defense industrial base. You have to use the MTConnect standard as part of this. And one caveat, all of these ideas are going to be made available to the public. You cannot hold intellectual property based on these ideas. Now, the second part of this challenge is to then take ideas that either came out of the first challenge or ideas you have separately that you didn't want to run through the first part of the challenge, and to then demonstrate the use of MTConnect and implement those software applications that you are going to develop. And again, all these submissions must use the MTConnect standard. And so in terms of the judging, for the first part, for challenge one, we're going to have an expert panel that's appointed by the DoD, and this panel will then judge the top candidates for the winners. For challenge two, it's going to go through 3 rounds. The first round is going to go through that same expert panel appointed by the DoD, and they're going to select 10 semifinalists. Those 10 semifinalists will then come in and present their applications to the DoD expert panel, and those judges will then select 5 finalists. Those finalists will then come to the 2014 MTConnect conference, and it's going to be American Idol style, where you and the audience can then vote for who the winners ought to be. So in terms of the prizes, we're going to have 5 $5,000 prizes for phase 1, for challenge 1. Then for challenge 2, we're going to have a first place, second place, third place, so $100K, $75, and $50K. Only U.S. citizens are eligible, and all the representative legalese thereof. So in terms of the key dates, the submission period for challenge 1 is going to open on Friday, and that's going to be open through May 31st. Then the expert panel will get together and announce challenge 1 winners on June 21st. Following that, we will then launch challenge 2. You can submit your entries in from July through January 31st. The finalists are going to be announced on March 14th, and then they will be here next April to give their final briefings, and then we'll announce the winners at the end of the MTConnect conference. So let's go to this chart here. So all the relevant data on what you need to do, what needs to go into your submissions for both challenge 1 and challenge 2, what are the judging criteria, and all that kind of stuff. Please go to mtconnect.challenge.gov. All that information is going to be there. John Snyder from the Army is the government's principal investigator on this. Unfortunately, because of government travel restrictions, he could not be here today, but he is my point man on this. John Wilczynski is going to be our point of contact on the NCDMM side. NCDMM is actually running the challenge on behalf of the government. And Helena is also going to be involved with this. So these are the 3 people you need to talk to for the nitty-gritty details on what to do. So having said all that, though, I will be around to about 3 o'clock today. John Wilczynski will be here as well. So we're available to answer any questions you may have, or maybe point you in the right direction to somebody who can answer those questions. So that's what I have for you today, and I want to thank you for your attention and let the challenge begin.